Hello, everyone, coming at you from downtown Nova Scotia. It's Adam Purcell, Karen Counts, talking to good people that do great things. And today, we have the Mia Voss. You ready for this? Luxury and lifestyle travel blogger. She seems so classy. Speaker, interviewer extraordinaire. She'll be taking notes and telling me what I did wrong. She makes boring shit fun. So I'm glad you're here. So if it gets boring, you can make it fun. We have Mia Voss.
Need improvement.
You're all about women not taking shit. I was going to say that as well, right?
So I represent women over 40 who still like to do cool shit, but my brand is 50-50 male-female. And yeah, don't take any shit.
That's what I say, don't take any shit. We got Fanzo. What's up, Fanzo?
Little brother. He is one of my favorite advocates, and we are for him too. Oh, Fanzo's Fanzo. He's himself. He's eponymous. You know what I mean?
It's like Madonna. He's like Madonna.
Or Cher.
How does someone become a travel blogger at mid-40s?
Well, it was 50 actually. So
I know.
It was.
You didn't see the week.
Wink, nudge. Is everything in my life is accidental and serendipitous, and it sounds bumbly, but it truly is. And I've just been open to the accidental. So, I have started my career as a insurance agent in commercial insurance at 18, and have just kind of ridden the wave of who I run into. Got very interested in architecture in the mid-90s, created a building inspection business accidentally as well. Early 2000s, had to recreate, of course, in 2009 here in the States when things went, that was the noise it made. For a lot of people. Got interested in social media, storytelling specifically, and so then looped into, for my 50th birthday, I'd always wanted to do just something incredibly just crazy for my birthday. Italy was it. And, I was praying and meditating one day, and my little spirit guides, because I got them, and I'm crazy like that, and they usually talk to me in the shower, give me messages, and we're just like, hey, why don't you, rather than trying to figure out how to make more money to go travel, figure out what it is that I offered that would be of value to them. And so that's kind of how it came about, and then I just kept traveling.
Let's just get this out of there now. You were in my homeland, Nova Scotia, last summer. Talk about a testament to the power of social. Seriously.
It truly, dude, it truly was, and it's just become my go-to point of things at work when it's beneficial for everyone. One, when you enjoy the people that you're working with, and all you want to do is talk about it. And then the thing that you have that's so magical, why it worked, was you're very excited about everything in your city and your town and your province and where you're from. And so that translates, because then I show up, and as I always like to say, I showed up in Halifax with rose petals and trumpets. And that was magical, because I was just as excited about that whole thing as you were. So we kind of blew it out. And guess what? We're going to do it again.
We're going to do it again. And we might bring some friends. Yeah. You're going to bring some friends, maybe?
I want to speak to Fanzo about it, because I would love for him to be a keynote speaker. Brian and Courtney Kramer would be wonderful. A lot of people saw us go on the adventure. You guys, if you go look up on my website at miaonthego.com, there's a tab called Maritime Mia. And that shows you, again, and that's brand proof right there as well of how much content we created, and that's value to all the people that we showcased. And I did a rant, actually, and it was based on the video that you shared a couple weeks ago, because it was after this big hoo-ha about influencers, and I'm what I would consider a micro-influencer. I don't have this big, huge size queen numbers on my social, but what I have are really awesome people who like to share my stuff out as well, right? That's the key. A lot of people don't, they just feel like they've only got to be the one to put it out, and I'm like, I could ping Fanzo or Brian Moran or Chef Dennis, who's one of my favorites, and we're working with him on Fido right as well. You see how that all works? Like, then you get these people, I like everything they do, they like everything I do, within reason. Depends on how much I drink.
And then here we had, Halifax is still in Kitchener Catering.
Doug Belding. You brought Doug Belding in to do a photo, which is hanging on my wall right over here. We did a live painting.
Your story that you just said about it sounds exciting, sounds incredible. Okay, so what's the worst thing about it? It's got to be stuff that is when the camera's off, you're like, ah.
I would say probably the biggest challenge is staying present, but also documenting it. And I think I have it down pretty well. But when I did, for instance, the trip last year, because I also coordinated with Colette and Visit Nova Scotia, there we had a lot of irons in the fire there. I was traveling with a group of folks. I was the youngest out of about 40 folks. It was pretty cute. By about 20 to 30 years, just so you know.
Yeah.
For some reason, this tour had a lot of folks who were in their 70s and 80s. By the way, they were so badass, Earl. These guys, I was like, I got 10 to 15 years to 20 years to learn to be as cool as you are, because they were living it, right? However, they're not really into the social, and I think they were a little nervous at first, like I was a spy or something, because I was, just taking pictures all the time. And so, learning to stay present.
So how do you think traveling changes a person?
Oh, you have to really get out of your comfort zone, truly. And then you also need to be curious. So if your curiosity will take you very far. And then my curiosity comes out in storytelling, because everybody has such a cool story. Everybody that you introduced me to, Patty and Kitchen Door Catering, Julie and Arla, I was just, all of them are just doing amazing stuff. Even going to the museum that we went to, Halifax itself. And I'm also an energy person, so the minute I landed in Halifax, I was like, something's going on here. And I'd done some research, but then as I started to talk to you guys, found out that, 9/11, that's where a lot of people ended up after 9/11, because the planes were grounded. There had been plane crashes. Your explosion that was, 101 now years ago, created a lot of energy that I think stays in that land. So for me, because I am curious, I was willing to pick up on that energy. So that is something that you want to do. And I think especially now for Americans traveling, to be quite frank, we gotta up our game and stop being douchebags when we travel. I know I got a lot of people that would kind of, when they would see that I was American, how many times can I tell you how many people go, when I said I was from America, when I was in Nova Scotia, they go, ooh, sorry. It was no joke. So yeah, but being humble as well, and being observant.
Sure. So who was the biggest influence in your life?
I would definitely say my mom, and Charlie. Chef Dennis is a big influence in my life as well. I think he's just, you guys go follow him. He does he's doing it right. Who
was Mia in high school? Were you the cool? Where were you on the spectrum of high school coolness?
Non-existent. Yeah. I not to get serious, but I had we were in a pretty serious religious cult when I was in high school. And so we were not allowed to do a lot of things. I was definitely the class clown, but I was very quiet and very withdrawn, and about this big. It's just a rail in high school. And now the irony is that I end up arranging all of our high school reunions. So
anyone that you don't say their name that you should apologize to.
It's probably filed under, I'm sorry what I said when I was hangry. Isn't it funny? Are you like this, Adam, that you also have these memories of people that you probably could never find again, and that you did something that was hurtful? And it's really good. There's a couple of people I feel like it just sticks in my head of like seeing their face but never having a chance to kind of acknowledge it and going, ooh, now in retrospect, that was hurtful.
And I think it's interesting because I asked Bree the same question, and I find two of you are the kindest people I know, and it makes other people that may have guilt there say, you know what? Oh, Mia did the same thing. I remember, like I said last time, I remember a teacher that we gave shit to. I remember one time this one guy that I gave crap to. I don't know why. Maybe to look cool. And now I'm like, feel bad.
And on the flip side, I also remember these snapshots of like mini cruelty, like a movie sometimes in my head. I don't hold it against them, but I do realize the power of how much I see that in my head, and I can literally see it visually of like that hurtful moment. So it does kind of give you pause and like, you better check yourself. Like, I do think that, and maybe you guys out there feel this way as well, that there's things, my heart has actually become more sensitive as I get older. You know, you think that everybody thinks it's like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, you just become, you know, cantankerous and really closed-minded. And I'm the opposite. I have to be very, very careful with my heart and the things that I see and take in, because it's ouch, ouch for me too.
Tell us about Fight or Right.
So Charlie started a company last year, Canna Luxury Tours, and it was more to educate investors who wanted to invest in cannabis, so that it wasn't just this puff, puff, pass, boobs and bongs kind of atmosphere, which is kind of the marijuana thing. Of course, I live in Colorado. And we had to divert and pivot because the current administration makes people very afraid to invest in cannabis. So at that same time, when we started dating, he started telling me about CBD oil. And we started giving it to Maggie, my then, at the time, she was 16-year-old beagle, or 17. And I would just watch this amazing improvement. And then I started taking it for my hot flashes. Look, this is what it looks like. Look at it. And so then Charlie decided to come work with a company here for a proprietary blend. Yeah, so that's what Phytorite, Phytorite. You know, for me, it's such a perfect fit with my brand, because it is about taking charge of your wellness. And especially for women, because to be quite honest, you guys, if you've heard me tell the story, like when I was like, oh, I don't feel good, something's going on, they're like, well, you're perimenopausal, and, you know, here's an antidepressant.
Yep.
Right? So it's been very nice to kind of discover a different alternative for that. And then Charlie just like, all right, let's start a company. Hey kids, let's start a show.
Maybe another teaching moment here. So you speak, and some would say, Mia, at the drop of a hat, of course I'll speak. Oh, and I know it's not that easy for you. Like, I mean, as far as speaking, so how do you prep? Because you're doing a lot of speaking over the next little while. How do you prep for that? How do you get mentally prepared where you're not as natural as you are when you're up there?
So, you know, it's funny, I did a webinar about it'll be 3 years ago, called How to Give Good Video, right? Because doesn't that sound like something I would say? Yeah. Because I was doing a lot of video on Google+. So a lot of the stuff, it's interesting to see everybody's kind of like rolling up on live stream, and we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but Google didn't play well. But we also couldn't do devices back then, so it's fun to have that, the ease of it. But it's definitely just, honestly, like, it's practice. So if you're giving a speech or a talk, you literally want to video yourself on camera and then watch it. And it's painful AF, and I know it, but you have to do it. Yeah. And it really does help a lot too. And then for me personally, I suffer with panic disorder, and I was diagnosed at like 23, and that's why I had to quit college. It was a very painful time for me. I spent most of my 20s on medication and trying to just learn to speak up in a meeting. It was really awful. So people should not feel shameful about panic at all. I learned to conquer it. I now have a beta blocker, and I carry it with me anytime I actually have the prescription. It's very mild, and it keeps my heart rate from elevating when I'm speaking. I had to use it the other day. I spoke to about 20 people at my car, guys, but it's a muscle as well. Because, you know, we all have something we really want to say, and it's very sad when we get frozen by fear. So you know what, fear? Can you hear this, fear? Let me turn it up.
You've traveled around the world. You've also eaten around the world, kind of, right? You do a lot of food. So is there food that Mia will not eat?
Yeah, I'm going to go with anything that would jack up my probiotic little atmosphere going on down there. So I would say like raw stuff is tough. But, you know, that was the one thing I've been saying for about 3 years now that a lot of people don't realize. The best way to make yourself, to really ingratiate yourself into your environment is to walk in and not make one demand about what you're going to eat and say, you tell me exactly what I should eat. Because the best thing that I love, especially in Italy, is they're so symbiotic in how they represent their food, because the wine is grown. So the wine is grown to match whatever the food is. You know what I mean? So why would you ask for something that's not even from that region? And people love that. And I spent 3 weeks in Italy, and Milan, Venice, Rome, Umbria, Florence, and every single place, they just were like, when you would say, I'll eat whatever you want, and they would just be like,
Let me ask you this question then. Thoughts on buffets? Are you a buffet or?
Oh my God. I'm a poo-poo platter girl from way back, because I have commitment issues with food. So if you ask me to choose just one thing, and oh my God, it used to drive my dad nuts, because he'd be like, come a bite, come a bite, come a bite. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I am. So what I love are people around me. They go, oh, here, like you turn your table into a poo-poo platter, into a buffet. So clearly buffets are.
When I see buffet, I think of like saliva and like people hanging over.
When I was in Italy, and somebody pinging Nazim, I know he's probably sleeping, but when I was in Italy, I was there for Easter, and I got to have Easter dinner at Nazim's family, when Nazim's wife and grandmother and like all these Italian women were in the kitchen. Does it just make you like your heart flutter thinking about it? And it was just this lovely spread, and squiddy linguine and pasta, and everything untraditional for Easter. And now that's a buffet, right?
I'm cool with like a family style dining. That's great. But when you say that you like to ask, oh, can I have a bite? Can I have a bite? That I like, just get one for your dad.
But you know what you can do, by the way, and so here's what I do. I'm very respectful of it. So cut me off a little bite and put it on a plate. Can you deal with that? Somebody bring a fresh set of cutlery, a little germaphobe, I'm with you, and a little plate, and then just put it over them.
I get that. Like my cousin just said potluck. So there's like church suppers and things like that there where people, I can't eat them. I know people love them. I can't eat them because I
Why? This is something I did not know about you. Did anybody know this about Adam?
I don't know. There's no regulation.
Well, I grew up in the Midwest, and that's just how we rolled. The only other thing you and I have disagreed about in the last years, remember we had that conversation about letting people in traffic, and you were appalled that I'm the one that goes up in the lane. And I said, no, it's how you learn to go lane to lane. I'm the one that rolls up, and I'm like, let me in. And you were about ready to lose your mind. You thought I just said that I clubbed a baby seal. That's how you felt. It was tantamount with kicking a puppy.
I thought I knew you.
I thought I knew you too. I was like, how is this not making sense to you?
I was like, when you say don't transact like an asshat, what do you mean?
Stop asking for people's time for free. Yeah, that was literally the impetus for my talk last year was when you asked me earlier, what's one of the things that's the toughest thing about this is that I get people that are just like, oh, that looks so easy. Let me pick your brain. I want to do it too. And then it's just like, wow, now that's transacting like an asshat, because you don't realize the value of what somebody else does. And value in people's relationships. I mean, even with you, I mean, honestly, I protect the people in my world. So if they want access to you, and they'll be like, oh, who can do this and this for me? I'm like, you gotta earn that stuff. You don't get to roll up on my connections, and not because I'm not giving. Charlie will say it, and people have said it before too. Once you're in my circle, man, you have carte blanche to everything in my circle. But you got it. You have to get to that, and I think we should all transact like that and really protect our time, our resources, and our connections. Stop giving shit away for free, because that's not philanthropic. Actually, that's just a waste of your time.
Yeah, and so I know you in person. I know Bree Palmer in person. I've never met Fanzo in person, but
oh my goodness,
I've connected with him. We have lots of chats. There's like he's got a huge heart. I love everything he does.
He does everything 190%, and I love that about that. I love about him. I do.
And 6 months ago or so, I was going through a project, and I'm like, I'm unfamiliar with it. So I sent him a message and say, hey, dude, can this is what I think of this. Can you give me some advice? And wasn't even a thought out of his mind. And he gave me 2 paragraphs of things that really helped me kind of grasp the concept. And I thank you for that. Line. It's just right.
But he appreciates the value in you because he's also seen you, put out great content over and over and over again and promote people as well. And, I think that's another thing with transacting like an asset. There's also, you have to be very careful about who you align your brand with, right? So if I'm just kind of letting all sorts of people kind of, take my energy and then also say they're connected with me, it's not going to be good. And I've had it happen a couple of times where people say like, I thought you were really tight with that person. I'm like, oh shoot, I should have, and that's delicate.
Do you personally have any disgusting habits that someone like Charlie might say, Mia, stop that? Is there something that you do that might be maybe not disgusting, but annoying? Is there something that you do that drives people crazy?
I know all the words to any songs from the 1970s to the 1990s, and it's really annoying, like, to be in a car with me.
Picture this. You walk into an elevator. In an elevator, it's an office building. You walk in an elevator, and a stranger walks in. You're sitting in the elevator. The doors close. You press floor 50. As you pass floor 10, you're just doing what you usually do. You start smelling the worst smelling fart in the world. Do you say something?
This is what I would do. I would just be like, I would say something, but I would just do this. Oh, that's awful. Golly. Oh.
So, would you say something? Or would you just be like,
wow. Wow. I would literally just be like, I want to know what everybody in the audience would do. I want to crowdsource this question. My nostril hairs are burning. That was probably what I would say too. So, all right, next question, because I like these. These are fun.
If you could know one of the world's biggest mysteries, what would it be?
Oh, ouch, that's amazing.
Adam Brown asked me that question when I was on his podcast, and I'm like, that's a fantastic question.
That's a good question. I would like to know about Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by her, so I would like to see how that all ended up.
I'm going to say these names, and you just give me one word to represent what they mean or what comes to your mind. Italy.
Wine.
Brian Kramer.
See, Brian is compassion. He's so compassionate.
What about Courtney Kramer?
Hilarious.
Brian Fanzo, he's here. I actually had him on my list here.
Brian Fanzo, enigma.
Charlie.
Adorable. The first minute I set eyes on that guy, I'm not kidding you. I just was like, I just couldn't stop looking at him.
Are you a Friends or a Seinfeld fan? Choose.
A Seinfeld.
And what Seinfeld character do you relate to most?
Elaine.
Yeah, I was going to say Elaine for sure. Sunrise or sunset?
Oh, wow. That's why is that such a tough question? I'm so excited to get up and I'm sad to go to bed. But I think sunsets. Because then you're usually like this.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia is just diverse. For how small, every man I know is going like, so bad. And it literally is kind of two islands almost. I have never seen such a diverse country in such a small space. So,
finish this sentence. I'm grateful for.
God, I'm gonna sound so cliche. Kind of everything. And Prosecco. Yeah, I am grateful for everything. I'm grateful for everything I've been through.
Mm-hmm. So finish this last word. I'm going to start this. You need to finish this, okay? All right, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin.
Say it again.
Fanzo's going to continue this in the comments, guaranteed. You ready?
Okay.
All right, stop what you're doing because I'm about to ruin.
You know what? I don't even know it, and all I can say is that I was in Austin. The first time I was in Austin, I went to Social Media Marketing World, and it was Fanzo and Kristen Cardos and a couple other folks that were all from that same age. And I just stood there because they knew all the 90s. I've never seen anything like it. They were singing like every like hip hop song, and Kristen and Fanzo were losing their mind. Remember that party we were at, Fanzo? I think it was the Dell place. And I just stood back like the woman who was about 15 years older than everybody else and went,
You're like,
oh, that's the Humpty dance?
yes!
Do the Humpty Hump. Oh, shit.
It's like, so is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to share? What's going on, the next few months?
Yes, I'm very excited. I can finally add Keynote Speaker to my bevy of cool stuff I get to do. So I'm really excited. I'm going to be the keynote speaker for the Rising Women's Conference, which quite honestly, I was a little hesitant because my brand is unisex to speak specifically to just a women's conference, but I get to talk about going from surviving to thriving with pivot and reinvention, which pretty much is my whole world. So I'm pretty excited. Going to Collision in New Orleans with a group, which I'm going to try and recreate the magic of Halifax. Was supposed to go to Switzerland, but now I believe I'm going to Italy. So, right? Shut up. Sick. And then I'm going to, and then I'm going to end it with going back to Nova Scotia. So listen, you guys, seriously pay attention as we start really, doing this trip, because it was just us before, and now we want to take people with us, right?
Basically, the gist is going to be kind of two separate pieces, where it's going to be the week of, showing off Nova Scotia, bringing some people to here that aren't necessarily, they're not necessarily travel bloggers, but they are people that are awesome, and they're also going to be able to give value to a one-day conference to help small businesses.
Business owners, yeah. It's going to be a meeting of the Bryans, I think. If we can get Fanzo there, and then Brian, who, as Fanzo mentioned, has been spelling his name wrong this entire life because Brian is a B-R-Y, right?
Also, Vicky Taylor from the UK is interested in coming as well. We now have direct flights from the UK to here. The cool thing is we're going to put together a bunch of really cool people, and that's the gist. So it's kind of selfish on one hand because we're going to have these awesome people that are just going to be cool to hang out with as well, right?
I know it is totally selfish. It is kind of fun. But I mean, that's the thing too, is when you start getting people together like that, which is why I do what I do, magic really happens, honestly. I'm so happy. I'm so lucky to have connected with you and have you in my life, because you embody what a brand ambassador, what every brand ambassador needs. Just saying. Well,
thank you very much. I think ditto. And to the people that are watching, there's a lot of people in here that are just good people. Like, and when you connect with the right people, you're like drawn to each other. And I think once we talk to each other once, it was like that. Brian, same thing.
Yeah.
I think how we end the show is you end it. So just basically, how you would end the show. It's Karen Counts, good people. Talk to good people to do great things. So I get to end it? Just end it however you want. Yeah. I think this is a year of, and I don't mean this in a combative way, but to stop asking for permission and stop asking for agreement, because if you're aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to actually be around people that are like, that is so exciting, right? I mean, yes, they may give you some advice on it, but they're going to be so excited about what you do. So that's it. Drop mic. We're getting older-ish, and you start realizing that you don't want to hang out and talk to people that are, no one wants to hang out with dicks, right? So I've been talking to Mia Voss from Colorado, travel blogger, awesome person, and I'm going to use a quote from a friend of ours, Morgan. She says, you know what, in life, one of the most important things you can do to live a good life is just avoid dicks. Thank you, everyone.